Greetings, everyone. My name is Jonathan Bailey. I'm from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. I am a copyright and plagiarism expert with 15 years' experience in the field, but bear in mind I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, and you shouldn't be getting your legal advice from YouTube anyways. What are you doing? All right, but on that note, today I want to talk about caterpillars, or more specifically, caterpillar cakes. I was unaware this was a thing until about a week ago when a big controversy broke out in the UK over two similar looking cakes. And so that's what we're going to discuss. Now, the story actually starts 30 years ago with the company Marks and Spencer, who I'm just going to call M&S as their logo states for the rest of this video because that's a mouthful, created Colin the Caterpillar, a quintessential cake that raises money for charities and has been a big part, at least a somewhat big part of their lineup ever since. Well, recently, a competing chain, Aldi's, announced that they are launching their own caterpillar cake called Cuthbert the Caterpillar. It looks very similar in many ways, and this prompted M&S to hit back with a trademark infringement lawsuit in the London High Court. Now, that sounds pretty open and shut when you just look at those set of facts, because Aldi released a very similar cake with a very similar name. Of course, it's going to prompt a trademark infringement lawsuit. But here's the thing. In the 30 years since Colin the Caterpillar launched, there has been a slew of competitors. Pretty much every major UK retailer has launched their own Caterpillar cake. And they all look to varying degrees similar. This raises a question: what was it about Cuthbert that was so similar, or pushed the boundary so far, was that one step beyond, that caused M&S to take this matter to court and try to resolve it with legal means? And to that end, we're going to have to look at these cakes now. But before we do that, I want to make a couple things clear. First, this is a trademark case, and though I know a decent amount about trademark law, I don't know nearly as much about trademark as I do copyright. Copyright is my bread and butter. It's my home turf. I'm not nearly as well versed in trademark law. Second, this is UK trademark law, which makes it even worse. I'm based in the US, but New Orleans specifically. I know even less about British trademark law. So I'm not really going to get into is this legal or illegal? What's likely going to happen? Until I don't have the foggiest clue. This is well outside my scope. I am sorry about that. That said, I'm going to try to get in the heads of M&S a little bit, understand what about this particular cake pushed it too far and caused them to take action when, like I said, there's a slew of others out there. And to do that, we're going to look at an image which actually has a side-by-side of some 8 different Caterpillar cakes, and we're going to try to understand why Cuthbert is the one that M&S chose to target. To do that, we've got to take it to monitor number 2. And here we have an image uploaded to Twitter via user @primarycohead. I'm going to provide a link to the original tweet in the description, and I should have the @ symbol in their name up on the screen right now, so you can easily follow them for more details if you want. But what this image features is 8 separate Caterpillar cakes from 8 different retailers across the UK. In the upper left, you have the M&S cake. Then you have 6 others. And then in the bottom right, you have Cuthbert. And I know the Cuthbert image isn't the best, but we can still work with it. And I think you'll see what I mean in just a second. Now, let's take a look at the distinctive features of the M&S cake, other than it's a cake shaped like a caterpillar. Let's get into some details here. First, you'll see the brown button-ish eyes. It does have a tongue. It has candies going down its back, and these are pastel-colored disc candies. A yellow face, a very peculiar type of yellow face. It's very difficult to describe, but it's a yellow face. And basically, it's a very, very simple, streamlined cake. It doesn't have all that many elements to it. Now, when we look at the others, we start seeing a lot of elements being added. 5 of the 6 have eyes, googly eyes, or some sort of eyes. The Tesco, Co-op, Asda, and I guess even the Morrison's one all have very different colored faces, or at least different colored faces. Morrison's added a bow tie to theirs. Co-op's, Asda, and Tesco have these weird clown noses on them. And only Sainsbury's has a similar face. But when you start looking at the backs, you see even more differences. Tesco, Co-op, and Waitrose all have this spiral drizzle, icing drizzle down the back. Morrison's, Co-op, Asda, and Sainsbury all have sprinkles on them. And you look at the candies, none of them have very similar candies to it. I think Waitrose is the closest, and Waitrose and Sainsbury are the closest. They have similar size, but not similar colors. And yeah, apparently, according to M&S, that's enough that those 6 do not face legal action, at least not yet. But the Cuthbert one does. Now let's take a look at the Cuthbert one, because it has very similar brown eyes. The face is roughly the same color. I think the difference there is caused by being shot in the packaging. And you look at the back at the candies, you'll see that yes, they are different colors, but there are pastels in and among them. You can see some pastel candies here. Now Cuthbert does not have a tongue. I saw it in another image. He does not have a tongue. And yeah. And you can also look at the antenna real fast, and you'll note that Cuthbert has probably the most similar antenna to the M&S one out of the 7 others. Sainsbury and Waitrose have these much more curly and broad antennas. Morrison's looks, frankly, more like a cat. And then you have Asda and Co-op, where it looks almost exactly like hair rather than antenna. And Tesco looks like they just took a piece of construction paper and put eyes on it and called it the front of a caterpillar. But regardless, these might seem like very pedantic differences, and indeed they are. They are very, very pedantic. However, they might be very significant to M&S and how they enforce their trademark. Once again, we're not trying to understand the law here. We're trying to get into M&S's head and understand why they felt the need to sue over Cuthbert, but not these other 6. And there's even more out there, I know. Why this is the first time that they have sued for over trademark infringement over a similar Caterpillar cake. Now, this might all seem pedantic, and like I said, it might seem like I'm splitting the tiniest and thinnest areas, because I look at these and I immediately go, oh yeah, they're all Caterpillar cakes. Easy. But splitting the hairs matters, and this isn't the first time we've seen this behavior in IP. In fact, we see it all the time when it comes to, well, oddly enough, Frankenstein's monster and how Universal enforces their copyright, not their trademark, their copyright in their movie adaptation, early movie adaptations of the iconic story. So let's take it back to the webcam and finish this one out. So you might be asking right about now, what the heck does any of this have to do with Frankenstein? And the answer is absolutely nothing. It's at least not directly. Especially when you factor in that what we're about to talk about related to Frankenstein is a copyright issue in the United States mostly, and what we're discussing with the Caterpillar cakes is a UK trademark issue. It's even less. But it's kind of a peek into the mindset of people who manage and protect intellectual property and what we might be looking for. You see, in 1931, Universal Studios released their adaptation of Frankenstein. Likely you've seen it, or at the very, very least, you're familiar with the way that Frankenstein's monster looked. If you close your eyes and picture Frankenstein's monster, you're probably picturing the Universal monster. Almost certainly. And the thing about it is, when Universal did the movie, the book Frankenstein by Mary Shelley had long lapsed into public domain, and the book itself did not actually give a lot of description on the monster. The monster was really left up to the reader's imagination. So when Universal decided to create the monster and put it on the screen, they had to come up with something. And once again, that version of it has become very iconic, very familiar, and believe me, we have seen it adapted and used countless times. But according to at least one book publisher, basically, Universal has a list of 5 things that they look for when comparing Frankenstein's monsters. And if your Frankenstein's monster has all 5 things, they consider it a likely infringement. Those 5 things are 1, green skin, 2, a flat top head, 3, a scar on the forehead, 4, bolts in the neck, and 5, a protruding forehead. If you do an adaptation of Frankenstein with a monster that has all 5 of those things, you're likely getting at least a cease and desist letter, maybe a lawsuit. And that's because Universal, at least for a little while longer, holds the copyright to their original production of Frankenstein. Now, that will be lapsing the public domain for too much longer here, but still, right now, they hold the copyright, and by gum, they're going to use it. Now, we could be seeing something very similar with these Caterpillar cakes. Maybe they're looking for cakes with the brown button noses, the circular candies on the back, and then the same color faces and the confusing name. They might have a list very similar to that deals with just the Caterpillar cakes. So it's very possible that somewhere in M&S legal team's office, they have a list very similar, And basically, in their mind, Aldi's cake ran afoul of it. Now, what this means is that maybe Aldi's cake can make a few changes. They could theoretically change the name. Now, people seem very fond of Cuthbert because of the free Cuthbert campaign. They could add sprinkles down the back. They could change the nose. They could give it googly eyes. I don't know. I don't know what the exact changes they would have to make. But it's very weird, and a lot of people correctly pointed out that it's odd that so many of these cakes exist, but this is the one that crossed the line. Well, if I'm placing bets on why this one crossed the line, I'm going to guess that M&S's law firm or whoever is handling their IP has such a list that they consider to be the 5 identifying marks of their version of the Caterpillar cake, and anyone that has all 5, well, they're going to have action taken against them. What's on that list? I'd like to find out. But unfortunately, that is not for me to know, at least not yet. If this case makes it to a trial, maybe we'll find out more and see if such a list exists. I'll be interested. This is just a theory, not a game theory, unfortunately, but it is just a theory. But here's hoping that we find out more about what's going on with this case down the road and why they felt the Aldi's cake was the one that was too similar. I'm going to be very curious to find out. Well, until next time, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.